Hey folks, welcome. This is a special, unique, first ever of its kind Forrest Wilson Experience podcast episode where I'm actually going to be interviewed. Of course, it's a co-emergent collaboration and exploration. It's not just me being interviewed. And the good friend of mine here, uh, Dev, is going to be interviewing me about fasting. Today is my seventh day of my fast. I've gone what is 7 times 24? It's like 168, maybe. 168 hours without any food.
Yep.
Only had water and tea and coffee, also some electrolytes and uh, creatine and Shilajit. Those have really been the only things I've consumed the last 7 days. It's Thanksgiving week. It's kind of a crazy time to do a 7 day fast. Started last Sunday evening. It's Sunday evening now, so we're right at the 7 day mark, and I'll eat my first meal tomorrow morning. Gonna have some bone broth and steamed veggies and things. So Dev offered to interview me about this fast and help create the conditions for me to share about my experience, about fasting, about um, what's been going on for me this week. Thanks for inviting this, Dev, and for being available to play this role. It's good to have you
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because we were on the phone yesterday and I was like, I just have this desire to just interview you as you're in the process of fasting.
Right.
And you're like, all right, let's do it tomorrow, day 7. And so yeah, I guess, to get it started, you know, what what had you be like, all right, I want to do a fast? Do you plan fast? Is it more of an intuition thing? Like, where were you at 7 days ago? Were you thinking about it for a while and this finally decided to do it? What was that process like for you?
Yeah, beautiful. I'm gonna hold your question right here, Devin. I'm gonna answer it on the other side of just setting the field for our call real quick. I'm gonna
Mm,
do the field set that we do at the beginning of every podcast. So thanks for the question. And for all our listeners, as always, as you know, this is a field first podcast. And what that means is we invite you to notice not only the words Dev and I are saying in this topic of fasting and any other themes we explore on this call together, but also where Dev and I are speaking to you from. Take a nice full breath together.
mm,
And the invitation for all of us here, myself and Dev included, and all of you listening and tuning into the podcast, is to allow ourselves to relax into, be resourced by, and even recreated from the field of consciousness that this podcast is recorded from. I want to welcome all of you. It's good to have you here. And yeah, let's see. Well, I'd say I did a 2 day fast last week, Dev,
mm,
and the impulse to start fasting. I've done lots and lots of fasting in my life, intermittent fasts, extended fasts. I've done 5 day fast, 3 day fast, 7 day fast, 8 day fast. So it's not a new territory for me, but the fast last week and this week's fast are the first time I've fasted. I mean, I haven't done a week long fast in years. It's been years.
mm.
And I feel like I'm just taking a minute to connect with it. I mean, one thing is that for the past few months, I've been experiencing quite a lot of heaviness.
Mm,
As you know, I almost drowned a couple of months ago in Mexico when I was swimming in the ocean. I haven't talked about this on the podcast yet, but
mm,
for
mm.
anybody who doesn't know, I had a near death experience a couple of months ago. I almost drowned in the ocean. And there's been this, my friend Tom Murray offered me a phrase, dim dusk of the soul. It's like when you're having a dark night of the soul, but it's not that dramatic. um, but I have been in a kind of rock bottom the last few months. Um, and experiencing a lot of heaviness and sadness and loss of enthusiasm and energy for things and just kind of blah, like a general blahness about stuff. Um, and fasting just called to me as, hey, for me, fasting is an opportunity to metabolize other stuff besides food,
Mm,
you know? Um, there's subtle ways that I can emotionally eat. Um, like this week, I noticed there was a bunch of times where I wanted food, and I'm just so aware that this is not coming from actual hunger. This is coming from number one, me just wanting to have an experience. My mouth and my taste buds and things just wanting to go on a trip.
like
Uh,
crunchy,
yeah,
crunchy,
crunchy or
sour food.
sweet,
Yeah.
all the sensations and the juices and the like
Yeah.
all that level of enjoyment.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then on the other side, it'd be, some subtle moments of, oh, this is a moment where I need some sweetness, like maybe I actually need a hug or some love and I want to have a cookie, you know, um,
Yeah.
or this emotion that I'm feeling is a lot to be with right now. And it would be nice to just sort of check out a little bit and have some ice cream or whatever it is. So,
Mhm.
uh, fasting is such a way to confront that and just so beautifully welcome in an opportunity to metabolize things. And the interesting thing about this fast, I was mentioning this to you yesterday, is when I got started on this fast, I was thinking, maybe I'll do another 2 day, maybe 3 day. I'm not going to do anything crazy. And then I had this voice come online. I'm not sure what this voice is. I'm in curiosity about what it is, but it was like a commandment, like 7 days, like just 7 days. That's all I got. And I'm making this gesture for anybody listening of like one hand hitting the other, just firm. It's not loving, right? It's very loving, but it's like the ultimate patriarch kind of energy. It's like I feel like it's like when you're sitting there whining and complaining and blah blah, and somebody next to you is like lovingly, compassionately, like, quit it, just stop, like,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
stop. It was like that voice came. It was like 7 days, like, aye, captain, okay, you know. And
I wanted you to touch it. So at what day was this where you heard that? Day
maybe day
three,
day two. Of
two? Okay.
course, of course, when I first hit it, I had resistance, right? I'm like, yeah, sure, right. You can't possibly mean that. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And then people would be like, how long are you going to fast for? And I'd be like, oh, I don't know. In the moment, I'm saying, oh, I don't know. I hear this voice going 7 days, right? And then finally I gave in. I'm like, I actually do know I'm going to do 7 days, right? Through
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, through a second Thanksgiving. There's a second Thanksgiving yesterday, Saturday, that I was sitting through. Man, those two smelled good. Um,
You had to smell all of it.
Oh yeah, and I
Yeah.
love doing that. I love doing that. I love taking in all the smells and watching other people eat. It's such a trip to watch how people are with food and
Mm.
and how people relate with each other while they're eating and things. It's fascinating. So that's a little bit of. I mean, when your initial question was what inspired me to fast, I would say that really giving my psychosomatic, energetic, spiritual systems just space and time to process stuff, while simultaneously cutting out any avoidance mechanisms, um, and also I would say cellular regeneration, autophagy. There's lots of really deep healing that happens, and I feel like in a lot of ways my body and my being were crying out for recreation. You know.
Mm.
Um, And so, obviously, this is a field first podcast. We invite people to be recreated by the field. And, sometimes we need somatic practices to support it. So, yeah, that'd be my answer.
Yeah, what's coming to mind, like as far as, the Christian tradition of fasting is like you starve the flesh to feed the spirit. And you touched on some of the physiological things that happen, like the autophagy, the literal cellular regeneration. I'm personally more fascinated by what's going on for you on on that spirit level, and what's like kind of um, what's been on your mind, or what clarity has come through. And also, wanted you to touch on your energy levels. I think a lot of people think through fasting they need to rest a lot, which I'm sure, you have rested, but yeah, just want you to touch on what's been going on for you spiritually over these past 7 days.
Mhm, mhm. Lots of things. So we might need to do a couple of rounds of this question to
Yeah.
if we want to get to multiple things. But one of them I already started speaking to in a way, which is this dynamic from the voice I was calling the patriarch, or for me, it's just the voice of clarity. And then this other one, which feels like my more human self, that's going, wah, 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 why do I have to do a 7 day fast? That's been a fascinating dynamic to watch this week, this
Mm,
relationship. It feels like I can take a third perspective and witness the relationship between for like the human and the divine.
mm,
It's what it feels like. So I can speak from the the voice of clarity or the voice of the divine. I can speak from the human, and I can come from another place that's observing those two and speak from the observation of it and the witnessing of it. And that's been a dynamic this week. Do you want me to just pause? I'm wondering if it would be better to just pause here and chat, or I can keep bringing more.
yeah, I mean, that immediately makes me curious about that third perspective, you kind of watching yourself and the divine, and your resistance. And also, I imagine you've heard this voice before, and what stood out was like you learned to follow that voice, even though a part of you is like kicking and screaming. Your human's like, oh, why do I have to do a 7 day fast? Like that's a really pretty intense endeavor, for most people. And I also wanted you to touch on just like, I know from being on a spiritual path to like um feel my emotions, not numb out, but it's even with that knowledge very difficult to do that, to not reach for the ice cream, so like, or the cookies or whatever. So you've done this 7 day period where, I mean, even through Thanksgiving, like that's like kind of like the ultimate test, like you could have gave in. You could have been like, all right, I'm just gonna have some yams, or I'm gonna like just whatever. And so how you've developed that capacity to really feel things fully.
Mhm. Mhm. It was so funny. I yesterday, well, I walked there. There was the second Thanksgiving that I said on Saturday, and I walked down the line of all the food I was smelling, and I was going, I might quite literally have an unconscious impulse to just grab something and stuff it in my mouth. Like even being totally aware, there's just moments that things happen. And you're like,
Yeah.
wow, where did that come from?
Yeah.
Um, and I had a dream. I think it was the Friday night, the fifth night. I had a dream that I was in a car with somebody and they handed me a Red Bull of all things. I don't even know the last time I drank a Red Bull, but I
Uh-huh.
took a sip of it and then I realized, oh no, like this has calories. I just broke my fast. So I had this whole dream about breaking my fast early. And the whole dream was what it was really about is the crisis that I want to say we go through, but I'll just speak for myself that I
Mhm.
go through when I know I need to do something, when I commit to doing something, when I have the clarity of what I need to do, and then I don't follow through. I just break. And it's just the worst, it's the worst dream ever. It's like, oh God, like, it's like a rupture in the soul. Now what do I gotta do? I gotta like, well, I can't just go immediately into another week-long fast. I just fasted 5 days. I'm gonna have to do a whole refeed protocol, and then maybe 2 or 3 weeks from now I can do another week. So now my sense of stuff is kicked out a whole month, right? I'm gonna have to go through this whole month-long process of refeeding, getting to stability again, preparing for the next fast, fasting for a week, and seeing that through just to feel like, okay,
Mm,
all's well in the world. And that is just not the kind of way I like to live. It's not the way I like to live. Oh
yeah.
man, that
Yeah.
is not the way I like to live. Um, yeah, so I'll pause here and kick it back over to you.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think I want to say that's willpower, that you're tapping into your willpower, but it's also you got this kind of divine commandment saying 7 days. And I'm almost curious to hear you kind of just described it like the process of not following through and then feeling like you need to restart the whole cycle, but moments where you didn't listen to that voice, whatever kind of human was like, yeah, whatever, and what resulted after that for not listening to what sounds like a very clear,
Yeah.
clear direction.
Yeah, and I mean, you know this story about me, and I haven't told this story on the podcast before, but I'll just for anybody who's close to me, you probably know this story. If you've come to a Luminous Lab, you probably know this story. Um, Part of my intensity about this whole subject is, a few years ago, I was in Los Angeles facilitating a shadow work workshop, and after the 4 days of the retreat that I went to, uh, it was my last night in LA. I was living in Austin at the time. This was during COVID, during 2021, I believe. And, I was sitting there, sitting next to a friend in the driveway of our Airbnb after the workshop, and she was getting ready to take off to go to the airport and leave LA and go back home. And I quite literally said to her, I said out loud to her, my soul does not want me to go back to Austin. I said those words out loud, and they
Mm.
just sort of fluttered through. Like it was noticeable, but I didn't give it the gravity that it needed. And that night, I didn't know what to do. It's the last night at the Airbnb, last night in LA. I'm in this whole thing. If I don't go to Austin, where do I go? Blah, blah, blah. That night I was in turmoil. I was walking down the highway in LA, listening to all this crazy music that was super dysregulating. I tried to call a bunch of people to get some backup and support, and nobody answered the phone. Couldn't figure out what to do. Went to sleep. The next morning I woke up and I just was like, you know what? I'll just get a flight back to Austin and I'll figure it out when I get there. My buddy Bruce calls me up and he goes, hey, Forrest, I'll take you to the airport. Let's grab a quick surf on the way to the airport and I'll drop you off for your flight. We go out, surf two or three waves. On the fourth wave, I surf, stand up, surf the wave all the way in. And then I fall off the board and I break my leg. Right.
Dang, dude.
I didn't
That's
go back to Austin. For 2.5 years. I didn't go back to Austin. The next time I was in Austin was 2.5 years later. I went to the hospital. I spent a week in LA. I took a flight to Virginia to my childhood home and spent 3 or 4 months healing my leg. It was one of the deepest initiations I've ever had. I had to come in very intimate with the process of healing. I didn't have surgery for the broken bones in my leg because the commandment that I got was um, to allow my physical 3D body to come into alignment with the dimension where we're already healed in our being, in our essence. So that might be for another podcast. You tell me, we can go there if you want. But I'm just saying, I've had times in my life where I've said things like, my soul doesn't want me to go to Austin, then I buy a flight and then I break my leg. So I might bring even more intensity than maybe most would about these kind of things because I feel like when I don't listen, there are really big consequences.
And with that, because I know this story, and correct me if I'm wrong, but in that healing process, and I just want to touch on it, I do want to touch on it, that my understanding is that if you weren't in truth, if you weren't in alignment during that time, you would literally start to feel that leg kind of going out of alignment. Like you were in this really deep, precise, focused process of healing your leg and were feeling really in depthly like into your leg. So when you were either making a decision or I forget what it was, but you would literally feel like the bone almost coming apart, like reversing the work you had already done to heal it.
Yeah, that's right. So when I was lying in the hospital bed after I broke my leg, I took my consciousness into my leg to check out what was going on. Um, and when I did that, well, first of all, I saw all these little elves working on my leg, and they're like, "Get out of here! You know, we got work to do." But I had one of the most life changing experiences I've ever had in my life, which is I saw my broken leg, and I saw my light body. I saw the deepest, most essential layer of my being. And it's not a cognitive thing. It wasn't like I was thinking through anything. I just had sort of a in the moment shock and awe strike of awareness of the commandment that I have right now, the task that I have right now, the learning that I'm about to go through, or the way this needs to go, is I need to go through the process of allowing, like, my leg just broke to have a breakthrough.
Mm,
And this is not about me trying to fix and repair what was broken. It's about allowing the aspects of my life that are not in alignment with the deepest dimension of my being, which is already healed, allowing those aspects to come into alignment with the deepest dimension of my being, which is already healed.
mm,
And so when I came out of that, my body completely rejected any kind of surgery. It was like, we can't have any surgery because that's just going to mess everything up. It's like, oh, we're going to put nuts and bolts in to hold something that's broken and out of alignment. It's going to hold something that's
mm,
out of alignment in place. We can't do that. We have to be the space where the things that are out of alignment can come into alignment. And so I flew to Virginia, and I spent 4 months resting in the space, resting in the awareness where things that were out of alignment could come into alignment. So, my girlfriend and I broke up. My friends who I was living with mailed me all my stuff. Every single client I had in my coaching business, every one of them left within 48 hours. They all left and did other things with other coaches, or felt like they had gotten what they needed from me. I said, "Thank you so much. This has been a great experience, but I feel complete." So, like, it was just like my entire life up until that moment just ended. I mean, everything, it just all went away. And then I sat there for months, and I was receiving all these downloads and all this light coming into my body, getting all this clarity on what was getting ready to happen on planet Earth, what was being asked of me, and my dharma, you could say, my walk in the world, the ways I need to contribute. I got a download for these physical well-being centers that we now call Luminous Labs. I got a download for a technology to facilitate the um, dehydrated structures of consciousness falling back into the formless, and the potent latent future that wants to emerge coming into form, that we call unified fields of coherence. um, Saw this vast network of lights all over planet Earth, and on and on and on. I mean, just one download after another after another. There was a very deep initiation process that happened. And saying all that to get to your point, day by day, for me, healing is like a transpersonal force. It's available to all of us in every moment. I don't really take the orientation that I healed my leg. I take the orientation that healing wants to happen all the time, and I allowed healing to do what it needs to do
mm,
for healing to happen. And so day by day, I wasn't numbing, I wasn't binge watching Netflix or anything. I was just lying basically in an emergent present relationship all day, every day, and talking on the phone to people and stuff. And I would feel day by day, the bones in my leg coming into a deeper alignment. I could sensationally feel the bones healing and coming back into alignment. But to your point, because this story, if I got on the phone with anybody and I started having one of those, those contractions, they're like, "Oh, but wait, that might mean that I don't get to participate in that, or that might mean I don't get that money, or that might mean," like, if there was any guilt or shame or fear or not enoughness or any of those contractions, and I started acting from that, I would
mm,
start to feel the bones of my leg come back apart again. And so the teaching I was getting at the deepest level was, if I want to walk again in this lifetime physically, I need to walk in the truth. I need to walk in alignment. I need to walk from an incongruence with the deepest dimension of our being where we're already healed and whole and awake.
Yeah, it makes me like when you talk about these contractions, I mean, I think bringing it back to the fasting and kind of just your relationship with discomfort and kind of when discomfort is actually in alignment versus having a contraction that's out of alignment. Because I imagine, like even today, like I wanted to fast, but I was doing a moving job, so I ended up eating food um because I was hungry. So the broader question is like just relationship with discomfort, knowing when you're in alignment versus out of alignment, and how that relates to your fasting right now.
It's a brilliant question, and it's also a extremely nuanced question.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, if you and I talked to 100 people in a row and they brought different kinds of discomforts, there's so many intricate, unique kinds of ways to be in relationship with different kinds of things. Discomfort's a pretty broad term that could encapture a lot of sensations. I mean, feeling safety can be uncomfortable. Feeling love can
Mm-hmm.
be uncomfortable. Feeling intimacy can feel uncomfortable. Feeling connection can feel uncomfortable. So can shame and guilt and fear and betrayal and all kinds of other things. So there are lots of kinds of discomfort. And so I mean, I'm answering your question, and I also feel like there might be a way we can get deeper into the essence of what you're saying with also honoring the uniqueness of this. Maybe if you want to bring something personally for you or invite me to share something personally for me, but I just want to honor how, if all the people who listen to this podcast shared experiences for them that are uncomfortable, that we would get a pretty wide array of experiences.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
Which, of course, I say that because there's all kinds of different techniques or practices or invitations for how to be with that discomfort, depending on what the source of discomfort is, right? Like if it's love, we might need to welcome it. If it's shame, we might need to release it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. I guess coming back to you personally, like, you had this drowning experience that I know you're still in process with, and you're just feeling blah. Um, and it's like you took that as a signal to then like, okay, I want to fast not just for my body, but for I wanted you to repeat the term you use, like the almost psychic
Mm-hmm.
metabolic process to
That's right. That's
metabolize.
beautifully said.
Yeah.
Beautifully said.
Yeah. Yeah. Which like fasting historically has been used in so many different traditions as a spiritual tool. And so yeah, just like through this process, you did the 2 day fast, which I also wanted to highlight as like just a practical kind of tactical thing is you took a short fast the previous week, kind of prepared your system, and then, you know, you're like, all right, I'm going to do a longer fast, and then got this 7 day thing delivered to you. Um, so like starting from that point, can you describe the metabolic process that you've been going through over this past 7 days and where your headspace is at now compared to, a week and a half ago?
As you're asking this, I'm wondering if there has been one large overarching theme for the whole week in the fast, because really what the experience has been much more than ever is I've had so many conversations with different people, and it's really just felt like I'm on it. You know what I mean? It's like the
Mm,
clarity is just razor sharp. There's a level of potency and intensity. And um, I mean, you probably hear it in my voice now, right? It's like there's like this oomph that's coming through.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and a real lack of availability. One of the big things is I've noticed through this fast that there are ways that I make myself available for things that I'm actually not available for. And then, I sort of soothe that with food, for example, or whatever it is. And then fasting, it's like in the moment being like, wait a second, usually I would sit here and listen to this, but actually I don't want to do that at all. So I'm not actually going to do that. Like, love you, but I don't want to be a part of this conversation or whatever that is. It's not necessarily a conversation, but a practice or a dynamic or anything. And so it's been, a million different expressions of that in different conversations with people. Um, Another thing that I noticed was it's funny for me to say this because I feel like I'm a pretty unhinged person, but this week I've experienced myself unhinged to another level. I mean, things were just flying out of my mouth in conversation with people. It was like any door or filter that would sort of regulate or regulate things that I was sharing just fell away. And it was just whatever is going to come through is going to come through. And I trust that you'll be able to handle that because I'm not, I'm really not filtering at all. It's just
Mhm.
wide open sharing, wide open communication. And there's been such an increase in vibrancy in my experience. Um, I've been getting up first thing in the morning and doing burpees. And even, I mean, I'm 7 days fasted today. I haven't eaten in days. And I got up and did 15 burpees this morning. I mean, I know it's not a crazy amount of burpees or anything, but I haven't eaten in 7 days. Like that I was out of breath. I was gassed. Uh,
Yeah.
and then I jump on the trampoline. And so just moving again, this kind of psychic, energetic clearing, metabolization, psychic metabolization you're talking about. It's been a lot of supporting that to happen. There's been subtle holding patterns in the body that have released and let go, tensions that have dissolved, um, places where there were subtle inhibitions that are not here anymore. They've just kind of sorted themselves out. And I feel like that's my meaning making for that is psychic energy that is manifest in the body. So, maybe I would be able to address that through massage or body work or myofascial release or something. Um, and it seems in some of these cases that actually just fasting and creating conditions for my system to just let what needs to happen was the thing that helped it move.
Mm.
Um, I feel like I'm talking a lot. Let me pause and check in. Am I getting to the essence of your question, or what's going on
Yeah.
for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I do want to highlight that um, your energy levels have been pretty high overall. Like you've still been going to the gym, you've still been going, doing what you need to do. And I think I wanted to highlight that because I think people get scared if they're going to do a fast, oh, I won't be able to do anything. But in actuality, you might have more, probably will have more clarity of thought. You'll have higher energy levels. You'll still be able to exercise. And yeah, like how did you feel like that? I don't know if it was day 3 or which day you were on where you went to the gym and just like crushed a workout, but I kind of wanted you to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I've gone to the gym a bunch this week. I went to the gym today. The third day, I mean, I was shocked when I was 72 hours without food. I went to the gym and did as big of a workout, if not bigger, than I would usually do. That blew my mind, honestly. Um, and then I went again on day 5, and I went again today. Today I did a long sauna, and then I did some lunges with a 35-pound plate sitting on my head. I did a lot of lunges around the gym with that plate on my head, and I can talk about why I do that um, in terms of the work it does with the midline and working with air pressures and things. Um, but that was the extent of my workout today, doing a sauna and doing those lunges. And then I also did some work holding a 35-pound plate over my head and doing breathing, working with my rib cage and my diaphragm. I got certified as a recovery therapist with a group called MoveMed, MOVMED, a couple of years ago. So these practices of doing lunges with a plate on top of my head and holding weight over my head and working with the diaphragm and the midline, which is for any energy workers out there, when you talk about the central channel, the concrete physical body version of the central channel is the midline. It's your butthole, your esophagus, your throat, your mouth. It's actually
Mm.
how human beings grow. We grow butthole to mouth. Um, and
Oh,
it is. It's how we grow in from
the
a
womb.
yeah, exactly. That's how we grow.
Wow.
So we all start as assholes, ladies and gentlemen. And don't you forget it. I see you.
And hopefully throughout your life, you're
Yeah.
not an asshole anymore.
It's transcend and include everybody. We're assholes and love and light. Um,
Oh my God.
I'll tell you, there's really something in this territory. There's a kind of primal aggression that comes online when I'm fasting. Um, I've never gotten, my testosterone checked when I'm fasting, for example, but I imagine it's quite a bit higher. I mean, I'll
Mm.
start roaring in the middle of the day. I mean, I feel primal. I feel intense. And I personally feel like in a lot of the spiritual and consciousness communities that I'm in, I go to gatherings of people who are really into meditation and in advanced states of consciousness and stuff. And I'm going, where is the primal
Mm.
energy? Where is the first chakra, second chakra, third chakra energy? There's a lot of fourth chakra and up, or upper third chakra and up spirituality going on these days. Um, and so I personally have done quite a lot of work to integrate the primal, aggressive, lower chakra perspectives and orientations and sensations and things into my being, and fasting supports it a lot. So um, I'll just pause here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's well, I imagine just evolutionary in an evolutionary standpoint, like your body's like, all right, haven't had food, time to go hunt, it's time to like get our all our systems like ready to go, like run and do that kind of thing. So that makes a lot of sense. I did a 3-day water fast and I felt amazing on the third day, like better than I ever felt. Like
Mhm,
inflammation down, my body felt good, fluid.
mhm.
Um, and then the other point I wanted to touch on is just, yeah, this integration of what you called the lower chakras, food, sex, survival. And what does that look like for you? Because I think, especially when I started on the spiritual journey, I think I actually got depressed because I was just denying those things, anger, sexuality, like that feeling. Like it was like, nope,
Yep.
that's not okay, right? Or that's not gonna take me to, the higher realms, so to speak. Like those things are bringing me down. So I would really love to hear, your thoughts on that and how to actually uh, integrate the whole system.
Yeah, well, it feels like, from the perspective of the divine, or from the perspective of spirit, from the perspective of awareness, it's descending down into these lowest chakras, bringing consciousness into the sex center, the safety center, the
Mm,
base of the pelvis, the legs, the feet. Um, and then also, as that's happening, supporting what's in our lower centers to remember their true nature as manifestations of the one, right? And so there's this ascending, descending process happening, this
mm,
evolutionary and involutionary process that's going on.
mm.
So this is really the relationship between human and the divine. Um, and it's a crazy it's a I mean I don't know if I could say enough. I mean, how long would we have to record a podcast to share
Yeah.
everything that I've been learning? But it's when if I start yelling or getting aggressive or primal in a lot of consciousness communities, I very quickly can sometimes be labeled dangerous or violent or something. Um, and it can leave me feeling like, okay, there's two options. I can dissociate, numb, and bypass, or I can be violent and dangerous and you know what I mean, like a problem. So where's the option three? Where's the one where I can bring healthy aggression? Where's the one where I can bring my primal power? Where like um and and then in other situations you have, like pickup basketball is a great example. I'll go play pickup basketball sometimes, and a lot of people have access to primal power. They'll shove each other. I've been in pickup basketball games where people break out into fist fights, and I've seen
Hmm.
people literally punch somebody's teeth out of their face and leave them all bloodied up and everything. And it's going, okay, wait a minute, this is all just primal lower chakra stuff with no access to anything later that can be non-reactive and compassionate and bring some spaciousness and presence to what's going on for us in a way we're not committing violence to other people. So I want to be clear, I'm not endorsing violence, but I'm also not endorsing suppressing violent impulses. I'm endorsing being present with them to understand where they're coming from so that we can work with them in a way that's integrated and that um, creates a new moment.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah. And just to say one more thing, some things that I'm finding really supportive in this are body based things. Like I told you, I've been doing a ton of burpees. I mean, even again, another one of those commandment things. I was in Mexico a few months ago and I went outside and started doing burpees in the hot Mexican sun. And uh, I was going to do 40 burpees, and then I ended up hearing, do 20 more. So I did 20 more, and I heard do 20 more. So I did 20 more. And at some point I got all the way up to 144 burpees was how many I did. And then a couple of weeks later, I went outside and I was like, okay, I'm going to do 50. I did 50. Then I got do more. Then I got do more. Then I got do 100 more. And of course, there I am. Why I'm going 100 more? You got to be kidding me. I ended up doing like 250 burpees out there. You know what I mean? And that for me gets me in touch with primal stuff. I mean, I am bitching, screaming, moaning, hollering, going, why do I have to do this? And also you're doing a physical exercise. Get out on the ground, get back up, get out on. I'm grunting, I'm like making guttural sounds, breathing, I'm sweating everywhere, my heart's pounding. This kind of stuff helps access primal consciousness. Doing jujitsu helps access primal consciousness. A
Mm.
lot of these very physical things, finding, for me as a male, right? I'm a 6'4", 235-pound male. Well, I'm 219 today because I've lost 218. I've lost 17 pounds this week. But typically, so it's like, where how can we create the conditions to experiment with and explore the edges of our power and our bodies and our physicality in ways that are not violent, or in
Mhm.
ways that are explicitly violent and people are consenting to violence, like martial arts, for example, but everybody has said, yes, I want to be a part of this before it starts happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a feeling I need to get back into training. I just had this dream the other night where I was in different environments, but I kept getting transported into rooms that looked like martial arts gyms. And
Mm.
it happened like like three times where I got like transported into like kind of an empty gym with like different equipment. I was like, oh yeah, this is like um because I think martial arts really blends the philosophy and the embodiment of, if you would consider yourself a spiritual person and what we're talking about, the primal energy with the divine. that connection. Because I played sports my whole life, and I know you've played sports too. And you have a long martial arts background, right? Like you started pretty early.
Yeah,
Um,
I started when I was 3 years old.
well,
Yeah,
okay, okay.
yeah,
Um, yeah, just I'm just thinking about like Aikido, which is very like, strong philosophy and spirit behind that practice. And Shaolin monks. Like I was always attracted to the Shaolin monks because it was
yeah.
like, all right, there's these monks and they're like doing a lot of physical activity, and that personally for me felt like a good transition from like sports to integrating spirituality with the desire for physicality as well. And yeah, for some reason it's making me want to like explore your thoughts on just the perceived limits we have on ourselves, and breaking through those, even like with your leg experience and doing a 7 day fast. Like there's probably a lot of people out there that are like, oh, I could never do a 7 day fast. Like they literally like don't believe like they could handle it. So yeah, I guess the question more pointedly would be like, how have you seen past your physical limitations and expanded, what you believe is possible in terms of just your body and states of consciousness?
Yeah, I'm just gonna presence real quick. I feel a ton of aliveness to talk about our society right now and our culture and aggressiveness and
Yeah, yeah.
these kind of things. So I want to circle to that after I answer your question, but let me take your question first. Um, Deb, I mean, this about me. I feel like I feel my approach tends to be, if you're listening to this podcast and you've never done a fast before, I would actually say, please do not go do a 7 day fast starting tomorrow.
Yep.
Please don't do that. Um, I feel like a lot of people who are in the shatter your limiting beliefs thing, or like who become aware that the ideas and philosophies we make up are all illusions and constructions, are like, there's this thing about like, oh, the idea that I can't do a 7 day fast is just a story. And I would like to add to that uh, perspective and say, yes, it is a story. And there are biological, physiological processes going on that are impacted when there's fasting. It's not just a story, there's also an
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I'm a big advocate of starting with something that's um, either totally in bounds or feels like a healthy stretch, and then helping what that. Have you ever seen the three concentric circles? One of them is the comfort zone, one is the growth zone, and one is the danger zone.
Yeah.
You ever
Yep.
seen that? I'll
Hmm.
just, if anybody's watching this on YouTube, safe zone, comfort zone, and growth zone. I'll just pull up an image uh, to show folks real quick.
Yeah.
If you're I'm just pulling up Google Images here. Um, so if you're on YouTube right now, you can see what we're looking at, and I'll do my best to speak this to the listening audience. But there's three concentric circles. So in the innermost circle, you have your comfort zone, and then there's a bigger circle that is the learning zone, and an even bigger circle, which is what they call the alarm zone or the danger zone. Um, so for me, a lot of people who are doing limiting beliefs work oftentimes encourage people and kick people into the danger zone or the alarm zone. And that's the thing I know in my own personal life, I have pushed myself into the danger zone many, many, many times. And there's a lot of consequences of doing that. I mean, of
Hmm.
course, there's positives of it. You're cultivating courage, you're cultivating fearlessness, you're cultivating audacity, like all kinds of things that are arguably good qualities. But you're typically not stable enough to go for what you're going for. I love the gym analogy, right? It's like if you never lift weights before, I would not have you go into the gym tomorrow and bench press 300 pounds. That's
Yeah.
just stupid.
Yeah.
And you're going to hurt
Yep.
yourself.
Yep.
It's stupid and you're going to hurt yourself. Now the comfort zone might be, going into the work, going into the gym every day, and if you're someone who bench presses, maybe you bench press 100 pounds or something, and you just stay there forever. And so the danger zone would be take someone who benches 100 pounds and have them start bending 300 pounds. But what's it like to do in conventional? I used to be a power lifter, right? In conventional weightlifting, you have what's called progressive overload. So you go from 100 pounds to 105 pounds. And then once you can do that, you do 110 pounds. Once you do that, do 115 pounds. And then maybe one day, some of us, we get to that 300 pounds, right? But we do it in a way where we can scale up. And then at some points, we hit a, a limit and we need to deload and do a rest and recovery time period. And then we can re up again and break through that previous place that was our threshold before, and then we need to deload and reapproach. So there's a cycle and there's a rhythm, and
Mm.
I feel like uh, part of the challenge with a lot of goal setting um, and a lot of commitments people make is they take on way too aggressive of a goal and way too aggressive of a orientation to break through. Um, I think there's a lot of good to be done in doing 5% or 10% more than you have before and cultivating that neural pathway and that feeling tone of I can do it. I'm winning. I'm succeeding. Like when I set goals, I achieve them. Um, it's, I mean, how we are famous, right? What's the most famous joke in the world? Almost like one of the most famous jokes in the world is everybody at New Year's goes, this year I'm going to lose 35 pounds. I'm going to go to the gym every day. I'm going to make $100 million. I'm going to like take 10,000 steps. I'm going to write 6 books. I'm going to start my podcast, and then
Yeah.
by the time it's the end of January, nobody's done any of that. And they're back to just watching the Cowboys on the TV. And that was all just the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen.
Mm.
So, what would it be like to actually set, if you look back at your last year, your last years and go, okay, what would 1% more, 5% more, 10% more, what would those be like? And then just see how that would shape your New Year's resolutions. And maybe that would, if you were the kind of person who every year you were setting New Year's resolutions, and then at the end of the year you were looking back and you actually realized those, you weren't building out a neural pathway and a feeling tone of every single time I set New Year's resolutions, I just break them within the first 3 weeks of the year. You were setting the feeling tone and the neural pathway of when I set New Year's resolutions, they actually come to fruition and sometimes turn out even better than I had planned. Well, what over the course of 5 years and 10 years and 20 years, what kind of trajectory does that build up in your life? That's a line that I invite people into a lot.
Yeah, I want to highlight that too, because that was really important for me to like have that crystallized because I had that feeling, like, I have a men's group. We set goals for each week, and then it's like, oh, I wasn't in integrity. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. And that the type of havoc that that can have on us, and also questioning like, because I see other people do it too, setting these, I'm going to go to the gym 6 days a week, or I'm going to go every day. And um, like you say, cultivating that neural pathway of actually doing what you say you're going to do and building that self-confidence. And I think what we hear a lot though is like, all right, no, aim for the stars, you land on the moon type of deal, which I think I've tried that, and it definitely makes more sense to do that progressive overload, that 5%, 10%, like max, and then you're compounding that patiently over time. That seems like a lot more sustainable way of goal setting and achieving and developing that neural pathway of like, if I say I'm going to do 5%, oh, I did that. Boom, that's a win. Now I know I can do another 5% and then 7%, 10, you know what I mean? So that was really helpful for me to hear. And then that's helping me reshape goals. And even this week, like I set more mild goals, but I hit them.
Woo!
And that feels good. That feels
Right?
good, right?
Yeah.
And it's
Let
like,
me ask you, what's that like for you?
you know, it's it's great. And I think the ego gets in the way. Like, it's like, no, I'm gonna go to the gym every day. And it's like, really? Like, and really being honest honest with yourself. Like, is it possible? Yes. But it does feel a lot better to set, like you said, a goal that's maybe a little bit of a stretch and then hitting that. And yeah, you feel accomplished. You feel like you feel the momentum to then have another successful week. Or you're just, maybe it's a day by day thing. I know they say that in AA a lot, or it's like just one more day and then stacking that up. And I was, oh, I did a whole year and I was just focused on day at a time type of deal. So,
Yeah,
yeah, felt good.
yeah,
Felt good.
beautiful. Congratulations, man.
Thanks. Appreciate
Truly.
it.
I
Yeah.
mean, this is also to go meta on what's happening right now. One thing I really feel like we're missing a lot of in our culture is celebration. So honestly, genuinely,
Mm.
great job. Like we just go from one goal to the next and one goal to the next. It's like, hey man, that's awesome. Good for
Yeah.
you. Truly.
Yeah.
And I'm taking that in too on my side. I mean, it hasn't quite happened for me yet, but probably, I can do it. I can start to welcome in the celebration in this moment. I mean, I did it. I got I mean, it's full. It's 7 days now. I mean, I could get off this call and go eat, and I would have still fasted 7 days. It's been.
Yeah.
I'm not going to eat till tomorrow morning, but I could go eat right now, and it's been 7 days. So,
Yeah.
woohoo!
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Good
Ah!
job, Forrest.
Ah!
Yeah,
I want to speak to the cultural thing for a moment.
yeah, yeah.
Um, I am so fascinated this week with it being Thanksgiving. There was so much sports on television. And also, I was watching the show Jack Ryan with the guy from The Office, Jim from The Office. He's like the CIA agent who goes around killing terrorists and everything like that.
Okay.
Um, I am so, when we talk about our aggression and our lower three chakras and stuff like that, I have this. I remember 10 years ago, it wasn't 10 years ago, 7 years ago, I was in Charleston, South Carolina, and it was the Super Bowl. And I went to the bar where everybody was watching the Super Bowl. And I was like the only person not drinking alcohol. And I was the only person who didn't have a sports jersey on. And everybody's glued to the TV watching these guys. And I'm sitting there 7 years ago. And of course, this still happens to this day. And I'm going, is everybody just projecting their inner Tom Brady onto the screen?
Mm,
Like that aspect of us, we get to live out the aspect of us that wants to score the touchdown and be in the high pressure moment and need to make it 4th and 1 on 4th down or stop the rush at the final moments of the game, do whatever it takes to play defense. Like, isn't that aspect of us getting lived out on the
mm,
television? And don't we get to access our aggression? I mean, think about it. There this is so mind-blowing to me. Like yesterday, Auburn and Alabama played each other in
mm,
football. And I'm going, there are probably at least 100,000 people, if not a million people, if not more than that, watching this game right now, either live in person or on television. That's amazing. That's amazing. Like you're like sitting in a room full of people, and I'm sitting in a room full of people yesterday. There's 35 people in the room. They're all staring at the television while this game on. And I'm like, how many households in the United States are all just sitting on their chairs staring at a television where people are playing football with each other? It's amazing,
mhm,
you know? And it's like, I just wonder what would it be like to live in a world where people took back their projection of their inner athlete and their inner warrior and their inner aggressor from the television screen and reclaimed it and found it in themselves, and then went through the evolutionary journey, the developmental journey of how do we actually integrate this and embody this in a way that is healthy. Because again, I'm not endorsing violence here, people, but how do we come into contact with these deep primal aspects of ourselves? I mean, I think this is the reason Donald Trump won the election. I think Donald
mhm,
Trump is the embodiment of our shadow, and he
mm,
went up there and everybody went, finally, thank God somebody's willing to tell the truth. Thank God this
mm,
this primal guy who talks about how sexy women are, and talks about how ugly Rosie O'Donnell is, and how he's not going to get screwed over, and this person's not going to jip him, and you can have a piece, but only if I say so. Primal power,
Mm,
you know.
mm,
I mean, I'm not
mhm,
claiming Donald Trump has access to later chakras at all, but I genuinely think everybody went, oh, finally, somebody's got this primal power that we need in leadership,
mm,
right? But the only way that we get a president like Donald Trump is because none of us are doing the work to embody our own inner Donald Trump
mm,
inside of ourselves and support our own inner Donald Trump to grow up and evolve in ways that work with those later chakras, the compassion, the presence, the knowing of the oneness of all manifestation with the source of manifestation, et cetera, et cetera. So I just wanted to speak to that culturally because I feel like we're in a time where men in particular, I'm just going to speak to males. I feel like we're in a time where men in particular, I mean, it's think about the world we're living in. We're living in a world of social media, and most of us have careers that are completely cerebral. We make TikTok reels and AI softwares and websites and programs. I mean, we're not using our bodies. We're not running around all day. We're not farming. We're not fighting in a war. We're just sitting here on a computer playing wingding, and that's awesome. I love that. Truly, I do. I love it.
yeah,
And there's well, a missing piece. I'll just say it like that.
yeah.
Yeah. Over to you, Dev.
Playing freaking wingdings,
Wingdings.
not using
Playing
our bodies.
playing bam bams.
Uh, yeah, no, I think I think that's why the movie Fight Club spoke to a lot of men
Uh-huh.
because there's that really existential issue where, like you said, we're not in a war, we're not like running around farming, like doing, some people are farmers, but a
Hunting.
lot of us are doing office work, tapped into the phone and computer, and you're a computer programmer, like you know that world.
Yeah.
Um, and but it's really dysregulating. Like when I'm on a laptop all day and I'm
Yeah.
not like walking around in the sun at all, I'm really grateful for this 10K step a day challenge, even if I don't get it. It's making me conscious of having these movement breaks throughout the day. Just walking is really important. But yeah, it really spoke to um maybe lack of purpose and not fighting a great war. And then the shadow side is they start doing all these different destructive things in society, right? And I think it's like, yeah, where's the option three? Where's the healthy embodiment in when there is no great war, land to farm and stuff like that. So I guess martial arts has really blown up, like MMA and jujitsu, all that kind of thing. So I think that's a healthy way. But yeah,
Or
it's
even like, I mean, I've been playing pickleball a couple of times a week. I've been playing basketball once a week. I mean, even these kind of things, they help a lot.
yeah,
They
yeah.
really do. And I mean, the agrarian revolution was only 10,000 years ago. Before that, we were hunters and gatherers. We were on
Mm,
the move all the time. I mean,
mm,
evolutionarily, if you look at the trajectory of evolution, it's only been a tiny moment that we've been so stagnant, either on farms or in factories or on computers. It's only been the last 10,000 years. For
mm.
hundreds of thousands of years, we were on the move all day long, every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah. And then for whatever reason, I wanted to highlight the sports thing because I feel like it's very tribal. Like when people are, it's like my tribe, I'm the Eagles, we're the Eagles. We're all like it lets people tap into, and again, this is kind of you could call it distortion, whatever, but it's tapping into that primal tribe.
yeah.
That's what I see it as. And along with that projection of our power, of our primal nature onto these football players, because they're able to embody it. Like they're going to war.
Right.
And I think especially for athletes, like once you're done sports, how do you translate that into your career or after, because even like all right, I'm going to do sales. Like it's like we're going to war. I'm getting on the phone. It's like it's just not the same. It's like you can adapt those things, but it's just not the same versus like an actual physical, competition. So
It's such a beautiful question, Deb, and it speaks to the longing that's been in my heart. I'm 34 years old now, but I
mm,
mean, I know that I started to pull groups of men together when I was in high school, and we had some things in common. We wanted to build businesses and make money. We had some kind of spirituality going. Um, we were, interested in girls. We were dating. You know, um, we were athletes. We had these different things going on, and we'd all get together and have breakfast together. It was like an opportunity for us to talk through things that we wanted to create. And I have always, Robert Bly in his book Iron John talks about these manifestations of how men attempt to create initiations for themselves, whether it's in a rock band or in a fraternity
mm,
or, a startup. We try to create these man clubs to initiate ourselves from being boys to being men. And
mm.
most of the time, it's a disaster. I mean, I was in a fraternity in college. That wasn't initiating boys into men. We might have told people that's what we were doing, but that's not what was going on. We were acting like idiots all day long, every day. I mean, I think if we were partners and collaborators in anything, it was just making each other have less brain cells. Um, you know,
Uh, yeah, yeah.
um, and I've worked in a lot of startups, and the startup world is a dog eat dog world in a lot of ways. I mean, I'm not saying every time in every situation, but I just got off the phone today with one of my best friends who's inviting me into his startup now. And it's so funny because we've had a 10-year relationship talking about what kind of companies that we want to build. We, not that we've been working directly on things. I mean, we did work in one startup together, but it's uh it's amazing to talk about building a company with somebody where there's the opportunity to have the kind of experience that we're talking about right now, where it has that kind of sports team vibe, it has that initiatory kind of vibe, there's an integrated um, uh, aggregate of a lot of different pieces of things that we long for. Of course,
Mm,
this is a startup that's focused on well-being, so there's that component of it. There's the relationship community aspect of it. So how do we get all these different pieces of what we care about, the relationship, the community, the money, the technology, and the coding side of things, the startup, pulling all these together into some kind of new potential where we have a evolutionary, deliberately developmental, principled um, context for flourishing is the word I want to use,
mm.
both individually and in relationship and in community and for the planet, right? That's like, I mean, could we make an argument the world is made better off by the Super Bowl being played? Sure, I could like go that route, right? Like I could try to make an argument, and there's probably other contexts that we could invent. Um, like right now, I think we need these Olympic athletes in consciousness. And recently,
Mm,
I started talking about planetary patriarchs, like these dads of humanity. We need men and women, matriarchs and patriarchs, just to be clear. But specifically, I've been talking to men. So in this moment, I'll speak to men. We need dads and father figures of humanity to step up on a planetary scale and go, hey, this is what's okay. This is what's not okay. Yes, you can build a business. No, you cannot destroy the planet. Yes, we can create things that support people having more well-being in their life. No, we cannot put people into slavery or sex trafficking. And to step up and be dads at the scale of 8 billion people and
mm.
steward humanity into a more robust ecosystem. Anyway, I might be losing the plot here, but I'm going to stop.
No, that's yeah, just thinking about all the things we do, fasting, meditation retreats, working out, um, that are I would say as a man stepping into that role because that's a lot of responsibility and that takes that takes a lot of refinement and being willing to be in that process and being in that discomfort,
Yeah.
holding
Art,
yourself accountable, doing what you say you're going to do, you know?
right, exactly. And again, I'm gonna add another cultural component here, which is, you and I, Dev, have grown up in a particular time in history
Mm,
with a particular kind of feminism that has championed the narrative that men are the problem.
mm-hmm.
Right. And so a
Yeah.
lot of us, I mean, I had to have a therapist sit down with me in my 20s who literally had to be like, Forrest, stop, 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 stop. Did you rape anybody? No. Did you kill anybody? No. Did you enslave anybody? No. And like walk me through the entire list. I
Mm,
had like give me a reality check because I had culturally introjected this narrative for society that I, as a white male, was the reason everything was wrong in the world. And my
uh-huh.
therapist is sitting there going, Forrest, you didn't do any of these things,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
So it's an interesting time for men. I mean, look at who arguably the number one male influencer in the world right now is Andrew Tate, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at his gravity with men who are in 16 to 24-year-old age range.
Mm-hmm.
And what has he got? All the lower chakra stuff, right? Primal. He's what does he say? Four-time world kickboxing champion. I mean, how many times have I heard that guy say that line? He's got
Uh,
75 supercars. He's got hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. And he rips around talking about the Matrix and the corruption in the world and um, the political powers that be that are blah 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 blah, and that resonates with young men who are pissed off, who are really
mm-hmm.
pissed off.
Yeah.
And there's a thing that I'll speak from my own experience, but I feel like I'm speaking for the voice of the younger generation of men, which is like this world is we know this world could be better, and I would love to be able to contribute to being able to make it better. But right now I'm being blamed by everybody for the way it is. I didn't fucking do that. I'm
Mm,
not the one who did it, but I'm getting the blame. And I'm the one who's being told I should be sorry and ashamed of myself. And I
mm,
didn't do any of this. And all I wanted to do in the first place was contribute. So there's a double whammy. One
mm,
whammy, one wound is I'm getting blamed for something I didn't do, and I'm getting shamed for something I didn't do, and being told that I should take accountability and responsibility for something I didn't do. That's a into me wound. And there's a second wound, which is you all don't see me. Actually, I'm good. I'm
mm,
loving. I care, and I want to contribute. And then the third wound is I have these longings inside of me to bring my gifts in the world and contribute in a way that I'm not getting to do because I'm so busy navigating everybody's projections on me about how terrible I am.
mm,
So there's like there's three things, right? I'm getting blamed. I don't feel seen. And I'm not getting a chance to actually bring the longing in my heart in service, which is what I want to do, right?
mm-hmm.
And that'll sure make you crack open a Bud Light and watch football on TV and check out.
Thanks for bringing it back to that because it's like there's compassion for that.
That's what I'm
It's not
saying.
judgment. It's just observation and like wishing that that wasn't that men didn't have to do that, you know,
Totally.
or didn't feel that desire, you know, to just
And then
like
you get the
totally
next
numb out.
round of it. Then you get the next round of it. All these men are indolent, lazy people who don't want to take care of anything. They just want to drink beer and watch football. Men are dumb. Men are stupid. It's like
Mm,
it's just missing. Where's the actual deeper seeing and the larger view that's more inclusive? Anyway, we're dancing in that here.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I appreciate just touching on this because obviously, um, yeah, men suffer in silence. You know, the suicide rate for men is way higher, and um,
Going up, right?
I don't know. I don't know. I hope not, but
Let me check.
if it is, I wouldn't be surprised, you know? So yeah, and I was just thinking it would be really cool if you felt called to kind of potentially lead people through a fast, or like we're fasting together. I know solo is good too if you're having like solo retreat time, but I think in the future that would be really cool. You do a 2 day prep with the 2 day fast and then like what to eat beforehand and just being in it together and having that accountability. Because, you know, if I'm on day 5 of fast and I'm looking at Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
without like for me, without like that divine command or like a group accountability, that'd be very difficult. But with the group accountability, that would definitely make it more likely to not happen.
Just
Yeah.
to bring the previous loop to a close, I just
Yeah.
checked with ChatGPT and it says, yes, the male suicide rate has been increasing.
Mm.
Um, yes, I've done this actually many times. I used to have something called Fasting with Forrest, and we had a whole community of people and we would fast together. And
Oh, cool.
I'm open and available to doing that. I don't know if I'm gonna be doing any more fasts in the near future, maybe,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
but it's also something you could lead, Dev.
Yeah.
Um, so that might be actually an initiative for you to take on. I'll tell you one thing though, to your thing about Thanksgiving. I had a memory of a teacher of mine in high school come up. He said this quote to me one time, and I never forgot it. But
Mhm.
I had a teacher in high school, and he looked at me and he said, "Forrest, excuses are tools of the incompetent that build monuments of nothingness, and those who engage in them seldom go far in life." It's never left me.
Mike,
Mic drop. Never left me.
that's a poem, dude. One more. I need to hear that one more time, dude.
Excuses are tools of the incompetent that build monuments of nothingness, and those who engage in them seldom go far in life.
Pretty clear stance on excuses.
Yeah, I know, right? I know,
I
right?
love that.
You know what the thing is, though? You and I talked about it because I've been coming to your men's group the last few weeks and really enjoying it. But we talked in the men's group last week about the need for both the kind of tough love side of things with also the compassion. So it's easy to be like, oh, you dummy, you're making excuses, get your shit together. But
Yep.
for me, the dad that we need in the world right now, the fatherly energy I aspire to bring to people in the world right now. I'm not claiming I do it in every moment, but the aspiration that I have, the longing that I have is to show up in a way where she's like, I love you no matter what. My love is unconditional. And I'm
Mhm.
going to challenge you, right?
Which is a loving action. It's
Exactly.
that it's the wrathful compassion. When most people hear compassion, they think, oh, gentle, everything, you're okay, you're fine, which that's part of it. But like the example of a mother ripping her child out of the street because it's about to get hit by a car,
Right.
versus saying, oh, come on, honey, like the car's about to hit you. It's like, no, I need to like rip you out of the street so you don't
Totally.
get hit and die.
Totally. It's a great,
Yeah,
great concrete example, or
yeah.
more subtly, right? Like you and I, we lived together in Puerto Rico for a month in this kind of consciousness incubator community type thing in a house with 12 people. And in an environment like that, if anybody's listening to this and you've been in kind of it's so funny how the a little bit more aggressive side of me comes out and wants to say like in woo woo spaces, but let's just say like um consciousness spaces. There can be
Yeah.
this thing where people get into processing and processing and processing. Sometimes the loving thing is like, hey, quit it, right? Like stop. How's that working for you? Right? It's a
Mm,
way more, it's not just like, tell me more about that. Oh my God, I feel so sorry for you when I hear you. Oh my
yeah.
God, that, you know what I mean? It's like, actually, maybe we don't want to do that. Maybe the
Yeah.
solution is not spending 3 hours talking about this. Maybe the solution is for you to quit whining about your self image and go for a run. Just
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
now. I love you so much. Get out there and go do your very best. I told you this recently. When I take people to do workouts now, one of my big things that's come online for people is I'm like, hey, when you do this workout and when you do this exercise, the thing that I care about more than anything is that after the fact, you feel good about what you did. You
Mm.
do as many reps as you need to do. You need to do whatever you do. But the thing that I want to have happen is when you leave this gym, you feel like, all right, I'm glad I went. I gave it my all or my best or my whatever, but I
Yep.
feel positive about the experience that I just had. Like I can walk out of here feeling good about myself. That's the thing that I care about.
Mm.
Anyway, I'm kind of ranting. Back to you.
Yeah. No, it just makes me think of I think it was one of the first or second, actually, I think it was the first like kind of co-coaching session we did at Skyway. And I was like sharing about, how I want to set goals and I've been wanting to fill out this sheet. And you're just like, would it be helpful for you if you just filled that sheet out right now? And it was just like, this
Yeah,
is like, yeah.
yeah,
And I went and filled it out and I felt great about it. I'd been procrastinating on filling out that sheet for months.
yeah. Yes, I remember
Instead of
that.
talking about that, oh, I've been procrastinating on this sheet and why do I procrastinate? It's like, why don't you just do it right now? Like you weren't indulging in that story. It was just like, go do it. And that was great. That.
I don't know if we have shared reality on this, but my memory was there was like five people in that circle who wanted to spend 45 minutes with you asking you questions about why are you procrastinating and what's it like to procrastinate and is that from your childhood or whatever. I'm like, do you have the worksheet with you right now? Do you want to grab a pen and start? And then you started doing it. And then I remember one of the guys in the circle was like, hey Dev, what's it like to actually be doing the thing you said you couldn't do? And I looked at him, I was like, I have at least a 9 out of 10 preference to not ask questions. It's going to pull him out of flow and doing the thing he said he couldn't do. And then we just all left you alone and you literally did the entire thing. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yep. And that, as a facilitator, as a therapist, coach, facilitator, I think that speaks to like knowing when you need to let that client breathe and just you're not asking questions, like really being able to just like let them do whatever. If they're writing something, they're feeling something, an emotion. Um, I just wanted to highlight that because I remember I had a therapy session where I was like really in it and really feeling it. Like you did a good job, like kind of asking questions to get me there. And then he kept asking me questions, and I just said, just give me a minute. You know what I mean? Like, let me just be in what I'm processing right now.
yeah, for any coaches and therapists and trainers listening, it's when the client's got a good thing going, just stay out of the way.
Mm, yeah,
That's really the wisdom that Dev's speaking to here is you don't need to go be a good facilitator by asking more questions. Just stay out of the way. And when a good thing's going, just keep letting it go.
yeah, yeah. Mm.
I will speak to there's some texture of something like loneliness for me. The things that I'm sharing, I feel like are hard earned insights. Like I've had
Mm.
quite a lot of the two drivers of evolution are passion and suffering, right? I've had a lot of suffering. I mean, I lost my dad when I was 24 years old. Like my number one male role model in life died 4 days after I turned 24. And I have suffered a lot trying to figure out what does it mean to be a man, kind of look at different men in the world and go, okay, I like this about this person, this about this person. How can I sort of take all these things and embody them in a way where I'm really proud of the person I want to be? Of course, my dad dying early age, I'm like, all right, what kind of, I intend to have children in my life. What kind of father do I want to be? What kind of husband do I want to be? What kind of life do I want to leave for my kids after I die? How can I show up best in these roles? And if you're a man and you're listening to this podcast episode and you're vibing with what Dev and I are exploring here, Dev, I'll speak for, I imagine this is true for you. I'll check with you, but I think we would love to hear from you. And maybe we could create, Dev's been talking about taking his men's group to the next level. And um, Dev and I have a lifelong friendship. We're always supporting each other in our growth and healing and development and things. So if this is of interest to you and you want to get engaged in embodying a new kind of masculinity and stepping into something that, quite frankly, I'm not sure we have a model for yet. I think we're all living
Mm,
into a possibility, you know.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
then reach out to us, reach out to Dev, reach out to me. Uh, maybe we'll do something. I don't know. I don't have more than that right now, but I just invite you to get in touch with us and share. Um, I don't know, but that's an invitation. I don't have any
Yeah,
more than that right
absolutely.
now.
I appreciate that. As it is now, we usually meet every Monday at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And yeah, there's definitely a desire for me to connect with more guys out there that are feeling isolated, just going through things. Like the big critique of men is that we don't talk about stuff. And what I appreciate about you, Forrest, is bringing the what I would describe as a healthy masculine, where we're not only going to have space for you to share what your emotions are going, like what you're going through, but also to challenge you and take action. This combination of what I think what we're really suffering from is having that lack of being able to talk about our emotions or talk about what's going on for us. And it depends on who you are. I say it's an individual by individual case. Maybe you're not taking enough action and you need to do that more, or maybe you're feeling numb and numbing yourself and a workaholic and you need to lean into the emotion side more, because like
Yep.
those questions you're asking, what kind of husband do I want to be? What kind of father do I want to be? If you're able to access both those, you're gonna, in my mind, have a more successful marriage, be better with your kids, all that kind of thing. And so, yeah.
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 And Deb, where does your passion for men's work come from?
You know, like you mentioned, the hard fought insights, in a similar way, like I've just experienced a lot of suffering, in a similar way, like my role model was my brother, as far as masculine role model. So losing him at 14, he was 17, like, yeah, I went through, I went through some pretty heavy emotional turmoil and, at times feeling suicidal and like, not knowing who to talk to, and so, um, I think even, like a man coming to the group and being like, guys, like I've been feeling suicidal, like him having that space to just share that. And then it's like, oh, like I just need to get that out. Like I'm not going to act on it, but I'm just feeling this way. If I'm going to be honest with you, that's how I'm feeling in this moment. And so that alone, like, and also like a place to celebrate. We don't sell, so it's like it's just all these things that I think that we're kind of missing or I would appreciate, and so I think the passion comes from just knowing where I've been and also that together we're stronger, iron sharpens iron. I really like that, and I think if you're on a sports team and you're training together versus like you're just solo trying to practice every day, like it wasn't a question of you're showing up for practice, like you're on the team, like you're showing up for practice every day versus like, all right, you're in control of when you practice or not. So there's multiple elements of men's work that I think are just super helpful. So yeah, yeah,
I remember when we were in Puerto Rico together and we were at this weird party. I won't even go there right now. We're in a
yeah,
weird party.
yeah,
And you and I
yeah,
both were like, this is weird. We need to get out of here. And we left and we had that walk, which was I feel like that was the first time we really got to drop in, but I was
yeah.
talking about my dad dying, you were talking about your brother dying, and I felt like that was the start of our friendship in a lot of ways.
Mm.
So I just feel touched hearing you talk about your brother as always.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, I know there's a lot of people out there that are suffering, so if there's any way to help relieve that in any way, I think that's what I'm passionate about. That's why I want to be, a counselor, therapist. It's like, um, yeah, just wanting to help relieve suffering.
I remember you came to a Luminous Lab that I hosted in Costa Rica a few months ago, and somebody there looked at you and said, "Dev, there are thousands of men waiting for your support in the world right now."
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Yeah, because I strive to be, strong, be able to be a provider, also, you know, um, have my creative outlets, do what I say I'm going to do, be emotionally intelligent, so I can be a good dad, so I can help support other men. The more I embody it, the more that I feel like I can share it. So yeah,
Well, I do experience you as all the things you just said.
appreciate that.
Experience you as strong and creative and emotionally intelligent and able to do what you say you're going to do. You just talked about how you did that this week. So I
Yep.
do experience you as all these things.
Yeah. And just thinking about the refinement process of coming more and more into alignment as an act of self-love,
Yeah.
versus like just, yes, there's value in obviously in doing what you say you're going to do. And then there's like self-punishment or, like,
Yeah.
doing things that are more aggressive, towards oneself just for the sake of, I don't know, just being disciplined or, um,
Give us an example of that. Help us understand more what you're talking
yeah. Hmm. I mean, I think of the weight room, say there's a moment where I'm not feeling great about myself, instead of listening to my body, just like pushing past pain.
about. Hmm.
Um,
Mm.
so again, I think and you brought up that diagram, which is super helpful because I was just about to say, like, I think pain can be powerful, like pushing your limits, pushing your edge, but at what cost? And are you doing it from a place of like self-love? I want to push myself, I want to grow, or, it could come from a place of like punishing yourself, you know, because you don't like yourself. So you're gonna like run 20 miles because
Yeah.
whatever, it hurts, so
Well, and again, back to the culture. I mean, how many gyms have I walked into in my life where tattooed on the wall it says push through the pain or no pain, no gain?
yep, yep,
So, there's a light and a shadow of that, which you're pointing
yeah,
out, right?
yeah, yeah, 100%.
That shadow can be really amazing, or that perspective can be really amazing. And that perspective can cause a lot of harm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, man, I'm feeling pretty complete.
Nico.
I think if you want to leave it coming full circle with some tips if people are interested in fasting, I mean, for me, it's like what I've heard before, like say you're gonna fast no food the day before, you eat like all raw foods,
Hmm.
or some like ways to prepare the body. You did a 2-day fast the previous week. Any kind of like practical, tactical things as far as fasting goes to leave the audience with?
Well, something I've been kind of mind blown with is this particular fast. I got into a ChatGPT, YouTube, blog kind of dive, and I'm just in awe of how many people have different opinions about
Mm,
this. So I just
yep.
want to name that. I mean, I
Okay.
you can watch 4 or 5 YouTube videos in a row. What do I eat after a 7-day fast and get 4 or 5 different answers? I mean, it's
Uh,
kind of mind blowing.
yeah.
Um, So what does that tee me up to say? In a lot of ways, there is a refinement process and a capacity for trusting your own compass and your own intuition and your own volition,
Mm,
and trusting your capacity to know what you need. Um, I am one perspective that just happened to resonate with me this time is it feels like this time a lot of my focus has been on the refeed. So what's going to happen starting tomorrow
hmm
after 7 days of not eating? And a lot of the things I've been hearing and a lot of the information I've been taking in that I really appreciate is basically like, um, I'll be honest with you. If I could eat anything first thing tomorrow, I'd have a cheeseburger or steak. I mean, that's what I want.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and everything I've been reading, everything I've been hearing is Forrest, don't do that. That's a terrible idea.
Uh,
Um, one of the things our body does, apparently, have you ever seen that YouTube video?
very,
Apparently,
very,
um,
yeah.
apparently one of the things our body does is it go when we're fasting, our body goes, okay, we don't need to be producing the acid in our gut nor the enzymes to break down protein. We don't need to be doing that right now. We can conserve energy and use it for other stuff. Um, and so tomorrow I'm going to be having bone broth, I'm going to be having steamed vegetables, and I'm going to have like maybe a little bit of rice. uh, One of the perspectives I heard is basically your gut capacity is at 10% of what it would normally be. So I'm
Mm,
going like the most easy to digest foods, and having a day to tomorrow will be a day for me to help my body understand that we're going to start consuming food again,
mm,
right? Like that's all tomorrow is. And then day two, so today is Sunday. So Monday, tomorrow will be 10%. Then day two is like 60%. So I'll start to introduce some things like a little bit of orange juice. The first glass I have, I'll dilute half the orange juice with water, and then
mm,
I'll have another one later in the day. I'll introduce some things later in the day two, like riced cauliflower, maybe some potatoes. I won't add any oil or dairy to those potatoes. It'll just
mm,
be the potatoes. And I might do a tiny little bit of protein, like 4 ounces of chicken or something like that. I might, or just wait on that for Wednesday. And then by Wednesday, you're pretty much in the place where you're at least 90%, basically able to resume normal eating. Of course, saying this, I'm assuming that people are not like, when I say normal eating, I'm not talking about Hardee's and Burger King and Taco Bell and
mhm.
these kinds of things, M&Ms or something like that's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I just assume we're talking
So
about
day three, I
whole,
can eat my peanut butter M&Ms again.
yeah, right. Twizzlers.
Yeah, don't do
Absolutely
that.
don't do that. Please don't do
Don't
that.
do that.
Like, please don't do that. Yeah, and so then and then it'll probably be I'm intending one thing I'm intending to do in terms of protein is have like chicken and eggs before I have beef. So I probably won't have beef until Thursday or Friday, whether that's a burger or steak or whatever.
Nice.
So yeah, and then I've just been asking about a ton of things. Like it sounds like I can add collagen to my orange juice on day two, which I'm really excited about, but like don't add protein powder until maybe day 3 or 4.
Mm.
Um, I should have we should have done a disclaimer at the beginning of this podcast that none of this is official medical advice and please consult with your doctor and health
Yeah,
practitioner. Yeah,
yeah,
just so
totally.
everybody's listening.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just an
yeah.
idiot who's musing about stuff. Just to be clear,
This is
where I'm
not
coming
medical
from.
advice.
This is
Consult
not
your
medical
healthcare
advice.
professional.
Consult your official person liability thing. Bing bing. I'm just sharing my experience, everybody. Um, um, oh gosh. Uh, yeah, so those are the things I'm saying. And then more generally, this isn't about fasting. I just want to speak to people. Um, y'all, we are what we eat in so many ways, and we are what we eats in so many ways, right? Like if you're eating salmon, you're also eating what the salmon ate. So if you're eating farm raised salmon, you're eating salmon that's filled with grain because that's what they feed the salmon on the farm. But if you go
Hmm.
get wild caught salmon, it's a different picture. So we need to look at not only what we're eating, but what we're eating eats. And I just want to encourage you lovingly, as the loving father I aspire to be, eat whole foods and find locally sourced
Hmm.
foods. The closer, you know, the the future of food, which is not the future of the food, it's the ancient history, the ancient future. That's what we should call it. The ancient future of
Hmm.
food is like I can tell when I eat food the quality of life that the being that I'm consuming had, whether it's a
Hmm.
plant or an animal or whatever. Like sometimes people hand me a burger and I'm like, I don't want to eat this. This is a sad cow, not treated well. Like I can feel it in the
Uh,
vibration of it. I can smell it. I can taste it. I don't want to put it in my body.
nah.
So the ancient future of food is having happy, healthy, fulfilled beings, whether that's animals, plants, whatever. And then we are enjoying and appreciating them as we're consuming them. So I just want to encourage everybody to come into conscious communion with our food. It's a sacred relationship, right? And part of the reason we're living in the world we're living in right now is because all of us are cut off at the necktie. We've disconnected from our body. So there's an invitation to come back into contact with the world, to care. Only a society that's disconnected from our body could pollute the oceans the way that we do and treat
Mm,
the soil the way that we do. I mean, that's the only possible way because our closest connection to nature is our physical body. So only if we're disconnected from our body could we treat nature the way that we treat our bodies. So it's a long journey for a lot of us, the descent back down into being, the
mm,
descent back down into the body, the embodiment journey. But I just want to encourage everybody to come back into the orientation of a felt relationship with reality, and food is a beautiful way to do that. Um, Eating mindfully, turning off the television, getting off the cell phone, being present with your food, chewing slowly, and expressing gratitude for what we're eating, and finding out what is the source of our food. I mean, becoming educated as consumers.
mm,
You know, where is the food from? What did our food eat? What chemicals was it treated with? Reading labels on stuff. I mean, the best food in the world doesn't have a ton of ingredients usually. You
mm,
know, it doesn't have all this junk in there. I mean, it's amazing. You go in and you can buy uh, peanut butter, and the ingredients are peanuts, or you can go in and buy peanut butter and there's 15 ingredients in there. It's like, what
mm.
on earth is this? So cut out the high fructose corn syrup, cut out the food dye, cut out the PUFAs. All right. All right. We've had enough. Cut this guy off. Cut him off. Get him off the soapbox.
Not. I just I just wanted to add talking to the body too.
Yeah.
I think it's psycho neuroimmunology. They
Hmm.
did a study. I think they did a study, but people were tracking talking to their bodies in a kind, gentle, loving way, and it actually, made them healthier. So.
No way. That's so crazy,
Just as
bro.
far as like you're talking about embodying, be like, oh, like sometimes after the shower, it's like, thank you, knees, thank you,
Yeah.
feet. Like I think
Yeah.
there's something to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No
All right,
poofus.
brother. Thank you. Thanks for everybody who's been a part of this journey we've had here. And thanks, Dev. I love you,
Yeah.
brother.
Thanks, Forrest.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks for doing this.
For sure. Absolutely.
Do you want to plug? How can people find you? Give us your website or your social media or something. And also, everybody, low key, Dev's a pretty dope musician and rapper. So you might look him up on Spotify. I'll link at least a song or an album on Spotify in the show notes
I
and Dev's
appreciate that, man.
website and stuff. But Dev, how do we find you, man?
It's Devin Dimension on Instagram. So DVINDIMENSION. And then if you want to listen to my music, it's Devin Michael. So DVINMICHAEL. Mikel.
All right. I'll link it in the show notes. Thank you, brother. Thanks,
Thanks, Bryce.
everybody. Be well. Love you.